that look okay? Behind me?
Hi guys, welcome back to Chats from the Blog Cabin. I am joined today by the author of Free and Fearless, and this book, guys, if you read one book this whole during COVID, read this book. This book is absolutely amazing, and I knew I needed to have you on after I read this book because it reminded me of my relationship with my dad. So, Phil, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
I'm just your average, ordinary guy. I grew up on a farm in Midwest and got married to the love of my life, Marilyn Wells, and we moved to Hamilton, Indiana, and raised two amazing daughters. And our oldest one is married, and she has two boys, and she's a graphic designer. And our youngest one, and that's who we'll be talking about today, was Brittany. She was very adventurous, I guess you could say. She was extremely talented, education, she was an athlete, and she just loved life and exploring and living life to the fullest, I guess is the best way you could put it. She was very adventurous. She graduated from college with a video production degree with the goal of making movies in Hollywood. And so that's a very difficult thing to do. And so you either have to know somebody or have some really good experience to get into Hollywood. And so she graduated in 2008, which is a really bad time to be getting a job. And her best friend told her about Colorado, thought she might like Colorado. And so in 2010, we moved her to Colorado, and she found a guy that did video production. And she learned a lot and really made great videos. Most of them were wedding videos. They did mostly wedding, and they did other special events too. And so she did that for a couple of years, and she was very adventurous, and she had a hard time working at a computer all day long. And so she wanted to see the world, and so she got a job as a flight attendant. And so she started flying. She got two offers as a flight attendant, and she started, she took the offer that she felt the most comfortable with, SkyWest Airlines. And so she went through the training and passed, and she started flying, and she started flying all over the place, mostly in the Western United States. And then she started getting nauseated on the flights and couldn't figure out exactly what it was. It just seemed like your motion sickness or and so she finally got to be every flight. And so she went to a doctor to figure out what was the matter, and they diagnosed her with a rare disease called Hashimoto's disease. And it's an autoimmune disorder, and flying was not the job for her. And so she got a job in Denver. She was living in Denver, And so she messaged me one day and says, Dad, I got this bucket list of adventures I'd like to do, and you're my best friend. Would you go with me?
Aww.
And so I was honored. She was almost 30 years old and still wanted to spend time with her dad. And so I says, yes, absolutely, I'll go. And so every vacation I got, I'd fly out to Denver and we'd work on our list. And she was used to flying. And so a lot of the adventures were natural beauty and a lot of them were off the beaten path, not normal type of things. They were all kinds of things. Some were physical demanding and others were not. And so in 2 years, we completed 13 of them. And so she started getting sick again. On one of the last ones we were on, she started getting sick. She didn't want to do any more. She wanted to go back to Denver. And so I says, okay, all right, we'll do that. And then it was about a month or so afterward, she got extremely sick and she had to go to the emergency room. And so she had a boyfriend at the time. She was scared of actually being alone at this point. And she had a boyfriend and they couldn't find anything wrong with her. They checked everything out. They couldn't find anything that she wasn't already managing. And so they just sent her home and she continued to get so bad and sick that she couldn't even walk. She couldn't even get out of bed. And at that point, I told her, I says, you have to get some help. And so she was so weak that her boyfriend had to carry her into the emergency room. And once again, they couldn't find anything specifically wrong with her. And so she told them, she says, hey, I've been looking my symptoms up online. I think I have Addisons disease. And they kind of looked at her a little funny, like, well, that's a very unusual condition. It's so rare that we've never even seen it in Denver before. But we can take some tests to find out. And so they did. And 2 days later, they come back and they told her, Brittany, you're absolutely right. That's exactly what you have. And so she had to tell the doctors what she had. And they had told her that her blood pressure was so low, it was the lowest blood pressure they had ever seen in a person that was still alive. So they told her she'd almost passed away. And so the only thing they could do for this disease was give her steroids to supplement what her body wasn't producing naturally, the hormone cortisol. And so she had a tough time with the steroids. And she lived a very healthy lifestyle, and she was into organic foods and exercise, and she was just loved a healthy lifestyle. And she had a tough time finding a balance with the steroids. The side effects, she said, sometimes were worse than the disease itself. And so she found a balance she could live with between the side effects of the steroids and the disease, that she could balance the symptoms. And so she got another job in Denver that she liked. And she was working one day and she messaged me and says, Dad, I got one more place I want to add to our list. We had 13 of the 20 done at this point. And I says, well, that sounds great. I says, I thought to myself, she must be feeling better if she's thinking about continuing our list that we had put on hold until she felt stronger and better. And so I said, sure, where is it? She goes, it's Sky Pond in Rocky Mountain National Park. I looked it up. I'd never heard of it. I looked it up. It's clear at the top of the mountains where the snow never melts. I says, okay, you must be feeling a lot better. And so I says, we'll have to go in July or August when the snow melts down. And so I started making plans to go in late July around her birthday. And 3 weeks later, she got sick in the middle of the night and thought she could make it till morning, and she passed away. And so I was obviously devastated. But the one thing that stood out for me, she was such an inspiring person, full of life, and lived life to the fullest. The one thing that I was going to do was finish what we had started. We'd spent 2 years working on this list. And the one thing that was just clear as a bell to me was to finish what we had started. And that meant finishing the last 7 places on the list and then going to Sky Pond. And so it took me a year and a half to finish the last 7 adventures, because they were some extreme adventures, high altitude climbs. I had to train for months to be able to make it. And so I made 3 separate trips out to Colorado, and I finished the list. And then in July of 2018, 12 of us met out at Rocky Mountain National Park, and we took her ashes, the 10-hour hike up to Sky Pond, and left her at the place she personally requested to go. And so it just felt to me like that's exactly what she would have wanted. And she said so pacifically. And so it was very physically demanding, but emotionally for me, I had no doubt that I was going to finish what we had started and complete her bucket list. And so when people are asking me, when I was training, and people are asking me like, well, what are you doing? And I told them, and they're like, that is an amazing story. You should talk to the newspapers. And so I talked to my local newspaper, and they didn't even call me back right away. And then so I talked to the regional paper. They absolutely loved my story. It wasn't what happened to Brittany. It was the fact that I wasn't letting her passing stop what we had started. I was finishing this list, and people said it was very inspirational. So they wrote a big full-page story in the human interest section and nominated me for Story of the Year. And they said I should talk to TV. And when I did, they did the same thing. They did a 5-minute special and nominated me for their Story of the Year awards. And so they said it was so good I should write a book. And so I spent a year and a half putting this book together, and it really came out good. I'm real happy with it. The people that helped me were just amazing, and it was just like it was meant to be. And I'm so proud of it. I even made a video of our last adventure to Sky Pond and posted it on YouTube, and the link is in the book, in the back of the book, and so you can see our last adventure. She had a video production degree, and I wanted to honor her with a video, and it turned out great. I'm really proud. I'm proud of the book, but I'm super proud of the video. because that's what she did. Was she wanted to make videos. She wanted to go to Hollywood. And so my goal is to try to complete her goal of getting to Hollywood. And so I've submitted it to a movie producer, and they're reviewing it right now for a story, and it sounds very good. And so I'm anxious to hear back from what they decide. So that's my story. I can go into a lot more detail, whatever you'd like me to, but the book turned out great. I don't consider myself a great writer, but everybody has told me that it felt like they went right along with me on this journey. It's an amazing journey that we went on. The story to me is so inspirational, what she did for me, that I just want to share that same inspiration that she gave to me. And if it helps anybody the way that I've been helped, then I'm really happy about that. I'm really excited that I could share the same inspiration. But
Yeah, I was actually gonna say that this book needs to be made into a movie, because I could see it on a big screen, or even a Lifetime or a Hallmark movie, because it's so touching. The whole story behind it is just touching, and the fact that you honored your daughter in so many ways.
yeah, I felt like she showed appreciation for all her accomplishments. She accomplished more than my wife and I ever even imagined. But she always knew that it was our support that made that happen. And so she was just always appreciative of everything. And it's just an amazing way to go through life, acknowledging the gifts that we do have. There's most of us take for granted, just the things that we do have. And she was so down to earth and so intelligent all at the same time. I had a heart of gold, and I hope I captured that in the book. I never met anybody quite like her. She could walk into a room and lift the mood of the room just by walking into it. She had that effect.
It came through in the book.
Well, thank you. I poured my heart out into the book, hoping that I could relay a lot of the same insights and inspirations that I've experienced.
Now let's talk about that final trip where you left her there. Tell me about how you were feeling when you were going up that mountain and climbing and carrying, knowing you're going to leave her there. I know it had to be very emotional.
Yeah, but she had no fear. She wasn't afraid to die. And it's kind of an emotion that I've never really seen anybody express quite like she did. If she had a fear, it was not being alive while you're here. And so fear, dying just wasn't, we all got to die. It's not that big of a unexpected thing that's going to happen. But how we live is up to us, and how we can make the most of it. That's where she was always focused on, making the most out of life. And I miss that so much. But I know that that's exactly what she would have wanted when we went up that mountain. That I just know that was what she wanted. And yeah, it was hard to leave her there, but it would have been worse not to. If that
Mhm.
makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt like then her wishes wouldn't have been fulfilled.
Yep, that makes total sense. Now you had some challenges before because didn't you try to climb um, the mountain before and you couldn't because of some kind of weather, and then you had to wait?
Yeah. Hanging Lake. And that is a great place for anybody that wants a really good adventure. It's about 1,000 foot, pretty steep climb up the side of a canyon. And we had went there 4 times before, and it was either raining or it was crowded. There's not much parking there. It's the side of a canyon. There's very little parking. When it fills up, you have to leave because it's a huge traffic jam. It's just one lane through there. And so the 4 times that we tried before, yeah, it was either raining or it was full. And so we just continued on to the next track. I thought, well, we'll get this. It'll happen. But
So
yeah,
talk about some of the challenges that you faced besides the weather and it being full. Did you have any physical challenges as well?
I was prepared for about anything that I could imagine. Living in Indiana, we don't have the high altitude to practice on. That was the worst. The thin air at 10 or 11,000 feet, the air gets very noticeably thin. And far as the challenges, emotionally, I was so determined to complete this, and I just made it, just willed it to happen, made it to happen. And I had trained for months. I did a couple of miles every night after work, and I was in pretty good shape. I was probably some of the best shape I've been in a really long time. And so it was the thin air was the worst challenge. When you run out of air, you just can't catch up. And so, but other than that, other than the thin air, I anticipated all the challenges pretty well.
Now, when you were setting about finishing her bucket list, did you have a timetable in mind? Did you want to get it done as quick as possible, or?
Well, yes, but I wanted to get it done in a way that she would, I guess you could say, want it done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could try and do it all in one trip, but that really wouldn't. I didn't want to do a marathon. I wanted to enjoy each adventure. So we only did 2 or the most 3 on a trip, to really enjoy each one. They were special and unique, and they were very inspiring, like almost nothing I've ever experienced.
Now, who came along with you for these trips?
Uh, After she passed away, my wife was with me on every one of the final 7, but on the one to Sky Pond, she stayed behind so my oldest daughter could go. Camille has 2 boys, and so Marilyn was watching the boys, so the rest of us could go. 12 of us went up the mountain, and a cousin and we had German exchange student and her fiance and a friend from college, and the rest of her family also went with us. They were excited and wanted to go, and I told them what we were doing, and they were like, absolutely want to go. Like, okay. Like, so more the merrier. So
Was there ever a time that you thought that you couldn't do it, or you felt like giving up, like it was just impossible?
No, I don't. Yeah, it was gonna happen. It's like a destiny to be fulfilled. It's gonna happen. It's just a matter of how it happens. I never thought that it wouldn't. It was just clear as a bell to me what I needed to do, and I was going to do what it took to get it done. It No, there wasn't any doubt that I was going to finish. It's just it would feel terrible not finishing it. So I
So
guess you could say.
let's talk a little bit about Addison's disease. What exactly is that?
Um, your body doesn't produce cortisol, which is a natural hormone. I'm not a doctor, that regulates a lot of the functions in your body. And so if you don't have this, certain things may not function the way they are supposed to function. So if you don't have enough cortisol, and cortisol is also a stress hormone, you're susceptible to even stressful situations can make you sick because you don't have what you need to deal with that stress. And so she had to live a lifestyle as stressless as possible. And Addison's is a rare disease. There's only 1 in 100,000 people that have this. And the most famous person that's had it was John F. Kennedy.
Mm.
And they didn't tell the public back in those days. They didn't want him to appear vulnerable in any way, shape, or form. And so when he got sick, they just told the public he had just like a reoccurring cold.
Mm.
And so, but afterward, they did confirm that he did have Addison's disease.
Wow. I also love the fact that in the press release I got that you are actually a portion of the sale of each book is going to the National Adrenal Disease Foundation. And I love that. That's a way of giving back. Is that you think honoring Brittany's wishes as well?
Yeah. She felt all alone with this disease. When you go to the emergency room and your doctors and they said they've never seen it before, yeah, you don't feel very good because they don't have much experience with it. And so the National Adrenal Disease Foundation helps support people with Addison's, and they bring awareness to the medical community and others what Addison is all about. It's exactly what she would have needed when she did get it. She just felt like it was her problem and she's going to have to fix it herself. And that in itself became a burden.
So in a way, her life story now is helping other people like she would in life help other people. The story that you read about her now is helping
Exactly.
other people.
Yeah, exactly. I'm continuing on in the same spirit. She went through life an amazing, inspirational person to everyone she touched. She said she had hundreds of friends, and my wife and I just kind of like, well, yeah, Facebook friends, like they aren't real friends. We found out afterward, no, they were real friends. And the stories that we heard were just absolutely amazing. It was hard to know that we lost that quality of a person, but it was also amazing to know that she touched that many lives. And she inspired me now to want to do that same type of thing, touch people's lives while you're here. Not remember you when you're gone. Like, no, live life to the fullest. Figure out your priorities in life and just go for it. And just you only get one life. Just live it to the fullest. You'll never have any regrets. And that's exactly what she did. And she left a note behind. I don't know if you read that part, to that effect.
Yep.
And that was the most meaningful words that I've ever read in my life. That you could come to the end of your life and feel like that, to care about people that, how do I want to say, supported you, and you still care about them, even if you should pass away. How will it affect them? She prepared us, actually. And so I've never encountered anybody or ever heard of any situation where somebody went to that much bother to care about people's feelings even after that person passed away. I'm forever changed and touched by not just her life, but the way she conducted it. And she's been an example to me that to live life more like she did, a little more adventurous and a little more making connections with people you wouldn't expect or meet, and having things in common that really touch people's lives.
So what are you going to take after the book? If it gets to Hollywood, are you going to how are you going to react? I mean, because you're following her wishes because she wanted to go to Hollywood. How do you think you're going to feel when you get that call saying we're going to make it?
I had 32 years with her. The one thing that I've learned in those 32 years, I learned a lot of things, but when she put her mind to doing something, to accomplishing something, no matter what it was, and she always was moving forward, doing something to the next level, to the next adventure. Every time she put her mind to doing something, she made it happen. Just that determination and insight of a better life, a bigger life, touching people's lives. She always made that happen. And that's how she had so many friends. People were attracted to her insights. She could see things in people that they couldn't see in themselves. And she could bring it out in them, the best in people. She was really good at that. And that's what the world really needs, is more people like that. The world would really be a better place if we had more people that could see the best in us. And so I guess I could say, yeah, I want to be more like that, more like she was.
Wow. Who do you think could play her or play you in the movie if it does go into a movie? Who do you have your cast? Yeah.
I've been asked that question, and I've thought quite a while about it, because she was even particular about like movies and things like that. She would, in books and stuff, she was very like had very good opinions about stuff, very positive insights. I came to the conclusion, they had asked me when I first submitted it to Hollywood, if it gets to be a movie, who would you recommend for the leading roles? And I thought about Brittany's situation, some of the people that she had talked about, who she liked, and her trying to do everything in her spirit. The one person that has the most similar positive outlook on things, the one person that stood above the rest of the ones that I considered was Reese Witherspoon.
Mm.
She has that $1 million smile and that attitude to go with it, that if she wants to make something happen, she can.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said earlier about walking into a room and lifting the mood, yeah, she's the one actor that kind of stands out to me. And I read her bio, and it says that she only does roles that she personally believes in. She don't just do stuff,
Mm-hmm.
you know, for the money or whatever. She has to personally believe in what she does. And so she stood out for Brittany. And there's even some similarities. But then it came to me, and I haven't got a clue. I haven't got a clue. I thought about it for a couple of days, and I just never considered, like being in a movie. I've never had that thought. And about 2 or 3 days into thinking about it, okay, I think I know who, if somebody's going to play me, I think I know who it is. And Tom Hanks came up. Forrest Gump is my favorite movie, and he's one of my favorite actors. And he too is a very nice, they say he's a very good human being for an actor in Hollywood, that he personally gets into the roles himself. And we are exactly the same age. And so my dream team in a movie would be Reese Witherspoon and Tom Hanks.
Wow. You heard it here first, guys.
Yeah. If it's going to be a movie, the story is so powerful. Mm-hmm. And I hope that's the way it comes across, very powerful and positive, that I feel like it needs A-list actors. I mean, they could look at it differently, but that's my opinion. If you want my opinion, that's the two names that came up, and I've stuck with them. I just feel they would do a great job.
And as you were talking about Reese, I see that in how you described your daughter in the book. I can see her playing that role. And I can see Tom Hanks playing you, because as you describe your relationship with each other and how, like you said, she called you her best friend. And that goes a long way. There's a special bond between dads and daughters, for sure.
I grew up with all boys, brothers in my family, and then I had 2 girls. I guess it was with Brittany that I realized, a father-daughter relation, how critically important it is. I hadn't grown up around that kind of a relationship, but I just treated her the way I would want to be treated. I mean, that old simple philosophy. She reciprocated. She wanted the relationship. She craved it. And we were just in sync all the time. We could not talk to each other for 2 weeks and pick up the phone. A lot of times I would just think about what she was doing, and the phone would ring and it'd be her. Wow. That probably happened 8 or 10 times. Just the second I thought about what she was doing, the phone would ring and it'd be her. And I'd answer, and I said, well, I would just think about you. And she says, yeah, I would just think about you. Like that is amazing. I mean, to have that kind of being in sync like that is just amazing.
Now, are there any more plans to write any more books, or is this the one-off?
I kind of thought about a second book, the effects of everything that I've done, the inspiration that I've tried to share. And continuing on, but I'm still waiting on to hear what, if this does go to the next level, I want to be there. As of right now, I'm thinking about a second book, but I'm not committed to it at this point.
So, what is one thing that you can leave the viewers and the listeners with about Brittany, about her life? What's the one thing you've learned from her?
I know it sounds cliche, but being in the moment, I never met anybody in the moment like she was. She always made you feel special when you were around her. She went out of her way to make you feel special. And she was just full of life. She's just always had something going. I never met anybody in my life that inspirational. I guess you could say that you could talk to her if she had time. You could talk all night about a subject. When I moved her out to Colorado, we talked for 2 days straight. And it was just like exciting. It was just, she always made you feel special. If everybody could do that, that we would have an incredible world, I tell you. But I'm going to do my part. So, and if I can inspire others to be in the moment, enjoy the people that you come in contact and share your inspiration with them.
And I thank you for writing this story, because your daughter, even though I didn't meet her in real life, was an incredible person to go through and do all this and still have a bucket list and write that letter to you, knowing how you were going to hurt. I mean, I'm welling up with tears right now, because a lot of similarities to, I had a sister that died when she was 27 of cancer. And I can remember the relationship I had with her and the relationship my dad had with her. And we were like his, it was like there's four girls. So the older two were kind of like my mom's. They kind of went with my mom everywhere. And then my sister and I always went with my dad everywhere. So I could see that. And that's why I said it reminded me so much of the relationship I have with my dad, who's now passed. But I'm so thankful that this book got into my hands and I was able to read it. It's such an inspiration. And I want to thank you for being on here today.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, guys, hope you have a great rest of your day. The book is called Free and Fearless, and I've got it scrolling on the bottom of the screen where you can get it on Amazon. So have a great rest of your day, guys. And Phil, thank you again.
You're welcome.